Straight Up the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E.
Hello, everyone. Wow. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's your girl, Anne with an E, for the first episode of the new year. So, Happy New Year. I know we're a little bit like 2 weeks into it, but we can still say Happy New Year until the end of January, right? I hope you are well and you have been keeping safe during this really crazy time, and that you actually got some rest during the vacation. I tried. I don't know if I'm completely rested, but anyway, we are back into 2021, and it's already been a crazy start to the year. So many things are happening in the world, depending on where you are. I'm in South Africa, and the pandemic is getting really out of hand. So we are just thankful to be healthy and for our loved ones. And of course, we all know what's happened in America this past week. And I'm not sure wherever you are, but it's been a really crazy start to the year. However, enough of the doom and gloom. This year promises to be another exciting year with amazing Africans in STEM who will be sharing their stories as usual. We want to get bigger and better as, you get older. So we are almost going to be approaching our 1 year anniversary in March. How wild is that? And I hope you'll join us along this incredible journey. Now, back to today. My guest is Sophie Okolo, a science writer who is originally from Nigeria, but is now currently based in Washington, D.C. in the United States. In this episode, because she is our first guest of the year, and we're still in that new year, new me mix, we talk about goals versus resolutions. And Sophie tells us more about her goals for the year as we reflect on some of the lessons that we learned in 2020. We then discuss her journey from being a researcher to her transitioning into an area that allowed her to have more impact on people, and that's why she chose to do a master's in public health. This led her to get into the work of aging, and then this helped birth the start of her own website, an award-winning website, mind you, called Global Health Aging. Sophie has been a science writer and has got her bylines in many publications. Most recently, she became a writer for Forbes Science, which is an amazing accomplishment. She lets us know how this happened and gives tips and tricks to anyone interested in this field on how to get started. Tune in because we talk about all of this and so much more. Let's go. Hi, Sophie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anne. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here. First things first, Happy New Year. You are the first guest for 2021. Yay.
Yay, so excited. It's a new year and new beginnings.
Definitely. So now before we get into everything, It's only proper for you to please tell everybody who you are, as in where you're from, where you're currently based, and what are you currently doing?
Yeah, sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Sophie Okolo. I am from Nigeria, but I'm currently based in DC in the US. I am currently a science writer. I write about different topics on public health, healthy aging, and health technology. Prior to being a science writer, I used to work in research. I have a degree in bioinformatics, and my master's is in public health and aging.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for that brief bio. So as you know, before we get into everything that you do, we just want to get to know you away from the science, of course. So it's a new year, everybody's got new year, new me, new year, better me. There's all these versions which come up in these first few weeks. So do you believe in that, into like a new year, new me sort of writing resolutions? Where's your stance on that?
Yeah, I think that was probably old Sophie. I would say when I was younger, even during my college days, I did all the New Year resolutions, 10 things to do for the new year. And I think the last 5 years, I kind of stopped all that and just focused on goals. So what are my 3 top goals for the year. So I no longer do the New Year, New Me, have New Year resolutions anymore. But I try to focus on top three goals in both my personal and professional life. Yeah.
No, I get that. I get that. And, it's pretty, as you grow older, I think you kind of realize, hey, like just because the clock went over from like 23:59 to 00, like you don't automatically change. Like life does not automatically change. So, I think there's that thing that I think as you grow up, you kind of learn the difference between goals and resolutions. And I think people still don't know the difference. Some people rather don't know the difference between that, but that is not a lesson on how to do goals. So
I think I just wanted to add one more thing, which is 2020 was a rough year for everyone, some people more than others. And I think it makes sense, I think, why, some people might not have resolutions and just focus on goals. And of course, there is nothing wrong with either. But yeah, it's, as you just said, nothing changes, from December 31st to, January 1st. But I think so far we, make goals and improve ourselves. I think that's the right step. For me personally, my top three goals for the year is to write and publish as many articles as I can in science writing. The second one is to also interview many people for my website. So I run a website called Global Health Aging, and I think one of the fun parts is to interview people in STEM and just talk about what healthy aging means to them and how they are managing their own aging process. Yes. And the third part I would say is just to be, the best sister, daughter, and friend that I can be. I think in the past, I focused so much on my professional goals that now I think trying to focus also on the personals is even better and more important. So yeah, just trying to be, the best friend I can be, the best mentor, the best sister, and the best, just the best person that I can be.
Oh, I love that. And you brought in such an important topic that we've all come from a very rough 2020. And, it taught us, I think it was a great eye opener that you might have all of these plans or resolutions or goals. And, sometimes things are not in our control. And I think everybody has learned this very hard lesson. Like if the pandemic has taught us this, it's that sometimes things are out of our hands and we kind of just have to sometimes take things by the day, and you can't plan 6 months down the line. And I'm sure even when the pandemic came, we all thought, it's going to be done by like June. Like 2021 January, we still So it's a very hard lesson. And I love how you've said that your goals or your plans are more wholesome. It's not just only personal. It's now, it's not only professional. It's also got the whole personal value in terms of your family, your friendships. So those very important relationships, which I think were very important during 2020, right? Surviving 2020 rather.
Totally. Yeah. I think the one thing that I learned from 2020, and I'm sure others too, is how our choices are removed, right? So when you had COVID start and the pandemic and all the lockdowns, people made plans, and now you see these plans like not happening, and you really have to hunker down and think about what's important, right? Like what's really key in this one life that we have. And and it's our loved ones, it's our friendships, it's our mental health, emotional health and things like that. And I think that's what really 2020 showed us, or at least, yeah. So
no, definitely. And as we looking back, I want us to go all the way back, right? I want to find out
okay.
how, you spoke that you are a science writer, and you gave us a brief background in terms of your academic qualifications, etc., that you've got a master's in public health, bioinformatics, etc. So obviously, this is who you are now. I want to know how did you even get into this field? How did you land up here? What was the route? I think is always quite interesting. Is it something that you always wanted to do? Were there some influences with some of these very important people who you spoke about? So, just give us the rundown from the beginning.
Yeah, that's a long story. I mean, how many hours do we have? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But I can give you like a short, medium story. But anyway, so I started my career in bioinformatics. That was my first degree. It was a very tough and fun major to do. After that, I worked for a year in a university doing bioinformatics research, and I would say my whole life from college to that point was really having the sciences. I did like 2 REUs, what they call research experiences for undergraduates. By the National Science Foundation. And so I was just really having that, doing research there, presentations, and, just going on trips valuable to my work. And after that, I just realized that I really wanted to have more of an impact on people, because I was spending so much time in the lab, and you know how it is, right? In science research, you run the experiments, they do go well, sometimes they don't go well. And I think I just wanted to just have more direct people contact. So I decided to get my master's in public health. And so I went to grad school for that. And I took courses in health policy, healthy aging, and racial equity. So it was kind of like a circular trajectory there. And but I still had my science part in it, and the whole public health, even in my field. So after that, I worked in health policy for a few years, and I think at every job that I had, I always wrote a paper or an article. It's not something that I planned to do. It just kind of fell into my laps. And people would always say, hey, you write really well, or can you say it in this way, or publish here, publish there. And that's just how it just, started, So from there, I started my first website called Global Health Africa, where it was mainly focused on African issues, from healthcare to health policy to child labor to mother and child health. And then after that, it now expanded to Global Health Aging, where it now focused on different regions in the world, but focused on healthcare and healthy aging issues. So I would say that's kind of how it happened, and then from there I would publish, in different outlets and things like that, until the biggest thing happened, which is just probably a few months ago, where I became a Forbes contributor. So and now
That's
I'm in
amazing.
the thick of writing articles for them. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's something that I pursued or like, oh, I want to become a writer, or a science writer at that. It just happened. I think I do remember one time in college, I never liked writing. I was like, this is just really hard. Like it was so subjective and who wants to even do this? So it's funny to see my life many years later. And I'm like, wow, I'm actually writing. So it was just kind of funny because in college, I never liked it. I thought it was, too hard or subjective or, or whatever. So it's funny how now I'm doing what I didn't like in college, but I love it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's really amazing. And I pointed out that you said congratulations. I said congratulations on that Forbes. And that's absolutely fantastic. And some of your writing rather is kind of based on science and health tech, aging diseases like you mentioned, and your bylines have also been appeared in some really notable places such as Maths of Science, PBS, Next Avenue, and like we said, like that's really amazing. So you kind of gave us like a nice overview in terms of how you got to where you are here, which was really fantastic. And you also mentioned that you didn't actually see yourself being this person. It's always funny how life works out in this way. Hey, so for somebody who is listening to this and is like, I kind of want to get into the space, right? I also want to do this writing. How exactly, and become a science writer, how exactly can they go about it?
Yeah, I think there is no one way, right, to be a science writer. I think people have different paths. Some people go to school in journalism and then they get their contacts from there, they get their first internship from there and then their first job. And I think that's more like a linear path, right? And that's fine and probably even easier. But like I said, there are many other paths. Some people start their own blogs. I would say, if you want to start science writing, I think the first thing, anyone can do, is to just either start your own website, right? Or just a blog, just to talk about maybe their experiences. If they're also on LinkedIn, LinkedIn has a place where you can write articles. So you can also do that. There are also different free writing courses online to hone your craft. So, you can, from EDX to Coursera, you can go on there and just make an account and just learn how to, hone your craft there. But I think for me, what I did was at every job I had, it was my goal to publish an article. And I did not wait for even my bosses to tell me. I would just, ask them, hey, we are doing this great research or our work. Can I write about it? And, every place, right, wants the world, right, to hear what you're doing. So I always got, a yes. So I would just, write about it, on the company website, and that was it. So I would say just start in however you can. So whether that's an internship, whether that's on LinkedIn, whether that's going to school, whether that's having your own blog or website, and then from there, things will just open up, and or as you even start to pursue other avenues, then so just and also apply to many things, so from fellowships to internships, and as you just mentioned earlier, massive science, right, is great. So they train scientists, to hone their crafts. And yeah, so that's one place that you can try or start with. Yeah, so it's so there is really no one way or no one path. Everyone has their different ways of how they became a science writer, and but I can promise that it's not a boring journey. It's exciting, and just so far you keep on pushing and going for your goals. I'm sure that doors will open. Yeah.
Definitely. I love how you said that. I think one just needs to start as simple as a blog or website. I think that kind of also helps in building your portfolio, getting yourself out there, and it's really good. And with that being said, you spoke, we've kind of been speaking about what you do with global health, aging. The website that you have, which is actually an award-nominated website, just by the way. So,
thank you.
I just wanted to put
just put it out there,
in, put some respect on your name.
Thank you.
I just wanted to find out, with aging is not a topic that I think, well, from my own experience, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, that is really spoken about. It's something that's kind of like, it happens, whatever, and it just kind of gets pushed aside, like something that's really kind of forgotten. So I wanted to know, what was the thought process in you doing something and getting into this line of work and, putting all of your energy into this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always start with, aging is not a sexy topic. It's not a sexy topic. Nobody wants to talk about it. People don't want to even know that they're aging, right? We see one gray hair, we like shriek about it, we dye it. We don't like wrinkles, and there is a huge anti-aging industry, right, that exists in the US and beyond. So I became fascinated with this topic as an undergrad in college. So during my time as a bioinformatics student, I took a course called Psychology of Aging, and I think that really blew my mind. I learned about the aging process. I learned about how older adults, are resilient, or think, or how our bodies are going to change. And I was like, why are people not talking about this? Or why do we really ignore this? And why is there so much aversion to aging? And I think it's because, there are different answers to that. And, I think it's just the way our societies view aging, and how, we are so youth centric, and how being older is not perhaps beautiful or lovely. It's all youth and great skin and all the stuff, and we spend money on this stuff to look good, which is fine. But I think it's the concept of just aging and growing older. So in undergrad, I took that course, and that really started my path on this in this field called aging. And I also took a course called Dying and Death. And I thought that was interesting too, just how different cultures respond to dying, and how they look or not look forward to it, how they respect their dead, and things like that. So that was a really unique course that I took as an undergrad. And I think what really made me stick with the field was just to give a voice to older adults, and also us who are younger, about taking the time to really reflect on how we are getting older, Because I think sometimes we wait until we are older and then everyone is everyone is surprised. That if we start young, to know that we are all aging, the newborn baby who was just born, the next day he's going to be 1 day old, right? He's going older. The 10-year-old, the 50-year-old, everybody. Aging is not just for older adults; it's for everyone. So I think that's my mission or my quest, to just keep on telling people that and raise the awareness that we're all going older, and how exercise, good eating habits and everything, that all that shouldn't start when you're older. It should start now. There is a common phrase that we use here in the US, which is, we are living longer, but not necessarily healthier, and why is that? Because I think we just don't, we just wait, right, till now we're older and, let's start exercising, or let's start doing this, or, I think we need to take care of ourselves now, but also I think have an appreciation for the aging process and for those who have come before us. I think most societies have an ageist mindset, and I think that's not. I mean, even COVID, for example, has shown that. I mean, you hear, you've heard some comments about, well, why can't we just kill off, the elderly, and then, or COVID is going to kill them off, and then, we'll be fine. And, so that kind of pervasive ageism in our culture is really alarming. And I think we need, a 180 shift to start to respect our elders, ourselves, and start to take care of ourselves as, even as we're younger.
That's absolutely great. I think, like you said, that there is that whole ageism that happens, and there's a whole industry that doesn't want us to get old yet. And I think most notably what you said about how we're living longer but not healthier. So now, Sophie, we understand the motivating factor about why you decided to create this website. So for somebody who's interested, what sort of things can they find on your website? What sort of resources can they gain and information?
Totally. I think they can find different articles on different regions. They can also find the interview series where I interview, people from all walks of life about their aging process, healthy aging, and what aging means to them. They can also find, book reviews, review on a product, for example. Yeah, so it's kind of like a whole breadth of things. They can also find article series. So let's say there's a huge story that we want to cover, like let's say 3 times or 4 times. So yeah, so a whole breadth of stories on different regions. And I also work with different guest writers to publish their own stories on the website. So so that's what they can find, just different articles, series, book reviews, product reviews, and things like that. Yeah, and of course the interview series.
I love it. It sounds like a lot of very interesting content, and you tapped into a very nice niche that requires a lot more attention than it's currently receiving. And I think obviously that is why you are an award winning website. All right. So I just wanted to ask you, you spoke about how you finished your master's and then you transitioned into working in these different types of roles, and you're kind of forging your own path while doing so. So I wanted to ask, was this an easy process for you? And what are some of the challenges, if any, that you've faced along your journey?
That's a great question, Anne. I think that, everyone has their own unique story. And I think for my own story, I like to give myself 3 words, which is compassion, dedication, and perseverance. And I think those 3 words are the words that have defined in my story. Doing a major in bioinformatics, as an international student, and, just going through the highs and lows with that, from doing great research to doing 2 research experiences, but at the same time, experiencing, discrimination and prejudice. That was a roller coaster just going through all that. And I have little and big stories I can even say now, or even one day when I'm ready, and some that I can't even say at the moment. So I think all those experiences really defined the person that I am today. But even then, after that, doing the master's, and I did choose public health, because I really wanted to have a direct impact on people. But also I did it too because I was also burned out from the major. I think bioinformatics really burned me out just with everything that I had experienced in college. And public health, I think, was like the saving grace. I loved the major. I loved the classes. But of course, it also came with its own highs and lows too, right? Like everything in life. And I think those 3 things I mentioned, dedication, perseverance, and compassion, I think those 3 things stuck with me too and just helped me to go through that too. And I think, trying to get a job and, that whole process too, before I got a job, actually, I had 2 internships in health policy in DC. So, going through that too. And then, every job that I had, I was either the only African person there, or like person with dark skin, or just Black person, so that also came with its own challenges. So all these things, that I've come to learn or appreciate about myself and the world, I think that's all makes me me. And I think that's also, shows also just how I act with others. I have a deep, deep love for people, and just people who go through things, and, but also have, their own highs and lows too. Because everyone has a very unique story, and you have no idea what someone is going through, so that's why I like the whole be kind, campaign, or word, because so I think all those things have made me who I am today, and even leaving science research to now do science writing, and doing that now even on my website, Global Health Aging, and other things that I'm involved in. That I think that has taken just patience and resilience on my part, but also on the parts of people who also spur me on. Yeah. So people that I admire, from my family to friends to even people on Twitter who are, awesome like yourself.
Oh, lovely. That's amazing. And you spoke of so many things about being, I think, which many people can relate to, being the one of the only few people who look like you, who sound like you, and it must be really hard, but you've overcome and you have done it. And I think this is why I love speaking to people upon these type of things, because sometimes one can feel like it's only happening to them, and they think it's impossible to move past. But I think hearing somebody talk about these real issues, who from their view is well established, is doing really great things, and you're like, oh my goodness, if Sophie can do it, I can. And I love how you were really open and honest and sharing about everything that you've had to overcome. Because I think, it's never easy. It just looks pretty from the outside, but it's definitely never easy. And with that being said, I just wanted to ask you, what sort of advice would you give somebody who aspires to do what you do, or is just interested in the field of what you do? What sort of, in closing, the last golden nugget?
Yeah, I think aging is a big field, and it's a field that is really important. I think, I would tell people to stay focused on their goals, and even if that changes or something happens and it looks different, that's okay. But just continue moving towards your goals. I think with aging, right, there are so many areas you can you can do the science part, so go into research, whether that's getting your master's or your PhD and doing aging research in a lab. We need many people, in that field. You can also, go the social science route, and work in areas of healthcare or policy and things like that. That's great to with people, in office to advocate for aging issues across the lifespan, and not just only for older adults. Or, you could go the writing route and really write about these things for the masses. It would be great if we see, for example, newspapers or magazines carrying more on this topic. So I think any aspect or angle of aging that anyone wants to go to is just, to stay focused on your goals and just, keep on moving forward. That's a slogan, keep on moving forward, and because you just never know what's behind the corner, what's around the corner. So that's what I tell everyone. And even if those goals look different, like I said, that's okay, because life also does throw things our way, things that we don't even expect, aka the coronavirus. And that's fine. I mean, if you asked me what I wanted to be when I was a freshman, I would have told you, I want to be a PhD researcher in aging because I want to win the Nobel Prize. Yeah, right. But I mean, that was my dream goal in my own head, at that point, when I did not even understand what it means to work in a lab, for many hours. But then when I said to do that, I didn't like it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, things change, I still remember one time when I really wanted to work in global health, and I took an internship in it, and I was like, I didn't like it. So I think, moving forward and just trying different things as you stay focused on your goals will let you know if you like something or don't like something, So for example, you've been doing this amazing podcast, right, where you interview people, and someone else could do this. I might say, you know what, I don't want to do podcast. I don't like it. But at least they've tried it, right? And they didn't like it. And they choose another medium. So that's just what I tell people. Just, try things as you're staying on your goals, and you'll come to your sweet spot.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for that awesome advice. And I think you said it so well that just because somebody does something in a certain way, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You kind of need to find what works for you, even if it's something that hasn't been done. I think that's even better. It's scarier.
Yeah, no, it is. It's scarier, but I always tell people that there is space for everybody. I know people always think, oh, this space is saturated or whatever, and things are not. But I think just finding your niche, that's the main thing, Yeah, there are websites, there are articles, there are blogs, so people in aging or health. But if you find your niche and you're passionate about it, that's your space, so there's space for everyone. And I think that we need to remind ourselves of that, and go for our dreams. And again, never give up. Yeah. So those are my two slogans. Never give up and keep on moving. And take a break. Yeah. Take a break if you need to, That's
three
important.
Slogans.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's a third slogan. Take a break. Because it's not just because all work and no play makes Jack of dull boy. That's a phrase from childhood. But yeah, take a break. Because this life is really interesting and it can throw things at us, but we just have to keep on moving forward, taking breaks, and try not to give up. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I had a really good time, and I think we learned something different. And I think this can be somewhere where somebody can look more into and they can check out your website. Please just tell us your website address, and I'm going to put the details though, but just for somebody who's listening in the meantime.
My website is globalhealthaging.org. So GLOBAL health aging.org. It's also on Twitter and Instagram and on Facebook at the same handles. I'm also on Twitter, so I'm at Sophie Okolo, SOPHIE OKOLO. And I'm also on LinkedIn if anyone wants to connect there. And so those are the ones I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Catch Sophie out on those places. She's absolutely amazing. And if you DM her, she's really nice too. Speaking from experience.
I try.
Yeah, so thank you for taking the time, Sophie. It was fantastic having you on.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. This was great. And I hope you have a wonderful new year.
Yeah, definitely. And for everybody else who's listening, thank you so much for tuning in to our first episode of the new year. Wishing you all of the best. And this is Anne, your girl, Anne with an E. Until next time, goodbye.